I just point out the fact that when, we're in school and I'm going to miss the race, we have it all at, the Monday races at 12, but now I'm out of school, can watch it at 12, and it gets moved to 5. NASCAR, no, it's fine. It's fine. I see how it is.
Lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the video, and today we are going to be recapping the Michigan race, and it was a pretty interesting one. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if y'all do enjoy, and comment down below your guys' thoughts on the race, and let's get right into it. I actually missed the first part of stage 1 up till the caution. That is when I came in. But from what it looked like, Joey Logano pretty much led every single lap up until that point, and would stay that way throughout the rest of the stage. Alex Bowman would work his way through the field, taking no gas, and finished second. Eric Almirola would be up there, and Eric Jones as well. I think actually Eric Almirola was in second up until he made a couple of mistakes, getting stuck behind some lap traffic, and that's when Bowman was able to get past him. But the racing really did resemble pack racing, just a tad. I'm not saying like they the entire time they were side by side, but it resembled maybe not pack racing, but Logano couldn't seem to pull away without a little help from somebody else from the rest. And even then, Alex Bowman, he was about a second back, and he got to Logano's bumper. So it seemed to be really hard to make big gains if you were the leader. Stage 2 would continue Logano's dominance, as he would lead pretty much every lap until he was forced to pit. There was a caution about lap 10, which then brought upon some interesting strategies. Some people filled up all the way, some people just stayed out, some people didn't put that much gas in, and we had drivers having to save and all of that, and it would end up Austin Dillon to be able to hold off the 4 car of Kevin Harvick, who came back from being a lap down for the stage win, so Dillon gets that stage win. But drivers like Logano, Larson, he came up from, I'm not sure where he started, but from towards the back, and he came up and was in second for a lot of that stage. He had to pit. And that would be how stage 2. I mean, it was definitely an interesting stage, but it was the front of the pack stayed pretty much the same. Stage 3 would be pretty interesting there at the beginning, as Joey Logano would actually lose the lead at the beginning of the stage, but then there would be a caution out for Clint Bowyer, who would not be able to salvage his car and would DNF. Then we would get another restart in which Joey Logano got out to the lead, but then there was another caution with Austin Dillon in the 3 car, stage 2 winner. He would be able to salvage his car and would pretty much stay irrelevant for the rest of the day. But then Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick would kind of pull away from the field, as those were pretty well seen to be the class of the field for most of the day. They would pull away, and there would be a couple switching around, and then I believe Harvick actually had an issue. I think Kurt Busch caught up to him, then Harvick, and something happened in there. And then Harvick would fall back a little bit. He would, obviously bounce back like he had all day. And then Martin Truex would come into the mix, but they couldn't seem to pass Joey Logano, who seemed to be the best car out there today. And it would cause for some interesting racing. Then pit stops would happen, and Martin Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, and Joey Logano, obviously, would pull away, or would be the top 3 there, and they would pretty much run that way. It looked like Kurt Busch and Martin Truex might form a little semi partnership and try and get around the 22, but it did not happen due to a caution with 5 laps to go, which would put us into NASCAR overtime. The restart, it looked like it was going to be a really good restart, but it wasn't that much of an interesting restart. There was some moves made in the back. As for moves for the lead, there wasn't much. The same 3 cars, Kurt Busch, Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. basically were the main focus of the restart, and they didn't really change anything there. And they would go ahead, and not much moves would be made. I'm like, I sound critical, but I'm just saying how it is. If you don't like that, you don't like it. I didn't mind it, but it looked like Kurt Busch might have had a shot to get a run or something like that, but it ended up nothing really happened there. And Joey Logano would go on to win and really dominate the race, I would say. I think the only other leader was Joey Logano. I think Truex maybe got a couple laps there, or did I say Joey Logano? Kevin Harvick. was really the only other leader. But still a really great race by that 22 cars. They had another win to their season, and looking pretty good heading kind of the midway point of the season. I think they got 3 or 4 wins, but all in all, it was a pretty good race. This race is going to get a 7 out of 10 rating. I would make it an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, but I think what it was missing, that a lot of other races that, you know, earned those, is the ever-changing lead. I mean, we've had record lead changes here this season, and we didn't see that. We saw a couple. If you led a lap, you probably got it on strategy, and really the only car that was able to pass that 22 was Kevin Harvick. So there wasn't a lot of lead changes. There was a lot of great passing. There was a lot of great racing just in general, and you know, the middle of the pack, which is definitely great, and that's why it's a 7 out of 10. But if not for that, I mean, it could have been much like Pocono, but luckily it was not like that. It was definitely an interesting race, and for most of it there were parts where, you know, I kind of, you know, lost interest, but for the most part I was interested in not on the edge of my seat, but you know, focused on that. So great, it was a great race, but you know, it's just kind of like, if you were to tier it, there's A tiers would be, you know, your Kansases and your Charlotte, you know, all of those races that are really the best races this season, and then Michigan's that B tier, like right below it. So not a bad race, but average, which 7 out of 10 suggests. For the notable finishes, Logano obviously winning the race. Kurt Busch second place. He kind of fell off a little, not really fall off, but you know, seen him in seconds, really good. He's been pretty consistent throughout the season, almost, I would say, the most consistent Chevy. Martin Truex Jr., he had a engine failure last week, and he's really been kind of bipolar. One week winning, next week, you know, DNFing, and then this week now again in the top 3. So Truex seems to have like a roller coaster of a season. Daniel Suarez, this is huge for Suarez. If you guys remember my last video, I talked about he's kind of on the hot seat if he does not perform this season, especially if he doesn't even make the playoffs. He's in it right now. A 4th place finish is definitely great for that 41 team, and assuming he can keep it up, you know, maybe we'll see him get another year. Kyle Busch, he was really quiet. This is probably the most quiet race I can think of since last season, really. He was in the back for most of the race, and then all of a sudden he just kind of appeared. Of course, you know, Fox couldn't help but, you know, announce it, but if you disregard that, he had a pretty quiet race, especially for Kyle Busch's standards. Brad Keselowski, 6th place, you know. I feel like he played strategy and it didn't work out, or no, he had a penalty and came back from that. Harvick, you know, he had a really fast car, but he just, you know, I mean, almost Logano fast car. He just couldn't seem to catch a break and be able to. Once he got up front, it seemed like something would happen to him. But 7th place, I guess, isn't bad. But this is a team that's really looking to get a win, because that's something that's been missing from the equation. Ryan Newman, couldn't even tell you how he did. He ended up in 8th though, so good job for him. Ryan Blaney, 9th place finish. He was up front a little bit there, but you know, he's really just been average. He's been getting top 10s, and I guess that's all he really needs to do. But hopefully he breaks out and gets a win here pretty soon. Bowman, he was up front. He got 2nd place in one of the stages, and you know, he had some speed. He was actually in 5th on that last restart. Had that last restart not happened, he would have finished in 5th. So you know, that's definitely really. He's been fast. He's almost. No, I'm just kidding. He's not been. But he has been like the 2nd best car or driver in that Hendrick camp, and just reinforcing that with a strong day today. Daniel Hemrick, 12th place. He's in the top 10 there for just a brief second. I'd say he's probably the rookie of the year at this point, and as long as he can keep it up, he's had a couple good races here recently. So shout out to him. Paul Menard, you know, he's average. You know, I just put him on there because there wasn't that many notable finishes. But Chase Elliott in 20th, he had an issue. I'm not quite sure what happened to him, but he had an issue. 20th place finish is probably actually pretty good considering he had an issue. Clint Boyer, though, he finishes 35th because of a wreck that happened in stage 3, and that is definitely not good for him. Eric Jones also didn't have that great of a finish. Also, Bubba Wallace, he was in the top 15 once again today. Not as long as he was at Pocono, but he actually had snuck his way into the top 15, and then he had an issue. So if that issue doesn't happen, maybe he actually gets a top 15 finish. All I'm saying is, ever since that sponsorship has occurred, he has looked a little bit better. So just keep that in mind. You know, maybe this sponsorship actually is bringing upon some change there in the RPM camp. But of course, you can't base it off of 2 races. I am still a firm believer that Chevy Hendrick is not back. I'm not convinced on that, so I'm not so quickly to say RPM is back as well. All in all, like I said earlier, I mean, this was a good race, but I just felt like it was missing that competition for the lead. I feel like the 22 was the class of the field, and that happens. I feel like when we go to the race in a couple of weeks, it's actually not that far down the line. It's a little bit of a ways, about a month or two. When we go there, assuming the 22 isn't just as dominant or another car isn't, I think this race will be a better race, all in all. And yeah, so that's really all I got for you guys. Make sure you like, hit the subscribe button, comment down below what are your guys' thoughts on the race. Got a couple videos planned for this week, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.